You ready? All right.
I had no reason not to believe in them yet. You know, like, now I don't believe in them. Now they lose every year in the second round, no matter who's playing with Embiid and if Embiid can even make it with his health and stuff like that. But back then, I was like, man, the sky's the limit. We have the dude right now, like, and Ben's really good, and Jimmy's really good. So I definitely believed. I don't think that I have a lot of like Sixers swagger. They don't give you a lot of like confidence. So you basically are taking what you get. Like, there have been Eagle seasons where I've been like, come see about us, but never like that with the Sixers. And it had been such a long time since it had basically been since 2001 that the Sixers had been a dominant team, and even people still throw dirt on that Sixers team's name. So I think I was taking everything I got with like gratitude. Middle of the season or a couple weeks into the season, they trade for Jimmy Butler. Jimmy was the missing link. Jimmy was the guy who was like the veteran, who wanted it more than anybody, who was like making the hustle plays, and was also the guy in the fourth quarter who could like get the bucket. Immediately it goes from this young, fun team full of potential, kind of like where the Thunder were when they made the leap, where we had Ben Simmons, we had Joel Embiid, we had Dario Saric. It was kind of this cool little squad. And then they trade for Jimmy Butler, and it becomes like kind of a win now situation. So my expectations were ramped up, but I don't know that sometimes expectations makes you feel like kind of nervous. Like when you have expectations, that's when you have something to lose. That's how I felt about them. I was doing the Game of Thrones after show with Mal and Jason. We're on the West Coast, so the game's starting a little earlier, and so is Game of Thrones. I think I watched the first half, and it was pretty even, if I remember correctly, in the first half. It might have even been like a tie game. And then paying attention to Game of Thrones, watching The Bells, which is the penultimate episode, and a couple things happened in that episode, so you do have to kind of keep your eye on it. I was also looking at my phone, but only at like the ESPN score, like not at Twitter, not like getting any of the emotions of it. So all I see is the score. And if I remember correctly, there is a point where Toronto starts to pull ahead, and it's like, oh, okay, maybe this is it. And then as I was looking at my phone and watching Game of Thrones, like the Sixers start climbing back into it. I'd have to like go back and look at like the score track to see that, but that's basically what happened. And I'm like, oh my God, like Sixers might win this. In which case I'm running out on the stage, and even though all these people are gonna be like, please explain Zenieris to me, I'm gonna be like screaming 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Sixers. And then as we get closer and closer to the end of the episode of Game of Thrones and the beginning of our after show, that's when the shot happens.
It's off to Leonard, defended by Simmons. Is this the dagger? Game! Series! Toronto has won!
All I know is the Sixers lost when I walk out there, and everybody's like, oh, sorry about that. I'm like, yeah, you know, like, sucks. I don't think I knew what happened. I didn't know the bounces. I didn't know Embiid bursting into tears. I didn't know any of that. It was pretty heartbreaking. I think that if he just hit a game-winning shot, you would have just tipped your cap to him. But I don't think I've ever seen a ball bounce that much on the rim and go in an NBA game. That just doesn't really happen. That's pretty well defended. You know what I mean? It's not, that's the thing, is that like there's nothing he could have done. There's nothing, Simmons doesn't need to be somewhere he's not. Jimmy's there to get the rebound. I wouldn't even call that like a great look, right? And that just feels like it's not going in. It's tough to watch an 82-game regular season when nothing matters but the second round of the playoffs. You know, that's like a really long fall and winter to get to a spring. So it has like affected my relationship to like regular season basketball, where it's like they win 55 games, they win 49 games, they win 60 games, like it really doesn't matter. Like it would have to be something truly extraordinary is going on. And to some extent last season with Embiid's MVP run and the MVP race with Jokic, it was kind of like engaging and that was a distraction. But I think we all came back down to earth in the second round of the playoffs with the Celtics series. You know what it is that's strange is he's not on the Raptors anymore. In fact, he left the Raptors after this season, after winning them the championship. That annoys the hell out of me because it almost feels like it didn't even happen. You know, like that Kawhi was just there on a babysitting shift and left with taking some pizza out of the fridge, but that was it. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't feel like this changed the course of NBA history. It feels like a blip season. It feels like an asterisk season. Not that their championship is an asterisk, but like when you think about all the things that happened in the NBA, like the rise of the Warriors and the way they changed basketball and won all these titles, and you know, LeBron going to Los Angeles and winning a title and now being there with AD and all this stuff, this really only resonates in Toronto. Like, I don't think it really like impacted the NBA. And even where he went to the Clippers, like they're still the Clippers. You know, it's like, it's almost like this thing that didn't happen. So 4 years later, it's almost like, I don't know, it just doesn't even feel like, it feels like something that happened in a nightmare, honestly. But I can't wake up. I think if this had been like the Game of Thrones episode of everybody high-fiving after beating Cersei or something, but we all fall in love, like that would have had a different impact on my view of the game.